Welcome to our PHP web course. In this video, we will look at how PHP can work with files and directories. So far, we have been using HTML forms to send data. However, that data is just displayed on a web page. There are times when we want to save that data. We have two ways of doing that. One way is using the file system. The other way is using a database. Databases are more professional, and we will learn about that soon. In this video, we will look at the file system. When working with a file system or database, you need to make sure that the appropriate permissions are set on the server. PHP gives us many functions for working with files. The file exists function can determine whether a file exists or not. It takes one parameter, and that is the path or location, followed by the name of the file name. That would be most commonly used inside an if condition. We have the isWritable function, which allows us to determine whether one can write to that file or not. This function takes one parameter, the path and the name of the file that we want to check. Similar to isWritable, we have the isReadable function, which takes the path and the file name. Like the previous two functions, it is typically used with an if condition. Most files are, by default, readable. We have the file put contents function, which allows us to write string data to a file. It takes two parameters, the first parameter being the path and the file name, the second parameter the data that we want to write. If this file does not exist, PHP will create it and write to it. Be aware that if data already exists, the data will be overwritten. If you were to use an echo statement with this function, it would return the number of bytes that were written to the file. As we just learned, the file put contents function will overwrite any data. We pass an additional parameter, file append, so that the new data is appended to the existing data, rather than being overwritten. We also have the ability to lock this file while it is being written to, so that two people might not be writing at once. The lock_ex parameter can be added to accomplish this. We can read the information from a file using the file get contents function. It takes one parameter, the path and the file name that we wish to read from. It reads it into a string. So if we were to use the echo statement, we would just get pure text. The file function allows us to read text from a file into an array. So rather than a string of data, it will break up the lines and return them as an array. This function takes one parameter, the path and the file name that we want to work with. Because this is an array, you can use the print_r function to return the value, and this is what would be returned shown here. We have the ability to determine the size of a file using the file size function. It takes one parameter, the path and name of the file we wish to check. It returns the size in bytes. So if we were to use this function within an echo statement, it would return a number, which is bytes. We also can determine the last time and date a file was modified. We can do this using the file time function, which takes one parameter, the path and file name of the file we wish to check. If we were to use the echo statement with this function, it would return the number of milliseconds. we need to convert that into a date. We can do this using the date function as shown here. We have the ability to list the contents of a directory. A directory is the same thing as a folder. Folders were originally called directories, and that terminology still exists on the web server. The scan dir function will allow us to do that. It takes one parameter, the name of the directory or the path to that directory. Because it returns a collection of files, it can be managed like an array. Therefore, we can use the print_r function to return the values which would be represented by the array index positions, as shown here. This function lists the files in ascending or alphabetical order. Should we wish to see them in descending order, we can pass a second parameter, the number 1, to the function. We also have the ability to create a directory using PHP. That's the mkdir function. It takes one parameter, the path and/or directory name of the directory you wish to create.